war rages on throughout the land. The Holy Church is trying its absolute best to defend us against the witch scum, but their foul magic is beating us left and right. Hope is not lost, however. An artifact that may turn the tide of this war has been discovered in a far-off land. You are a prior, an elite soldier given permission by the Pope himself to utilize the witch's magic against them. You arrive at your destination, weak and running out of Witchfire. Here, we must fight our way through the witch's horde and help finally bring an end to their terror. Welcome to Witchfire. The world is fucked, but at least you get some kick-ass witch powers. Fully sponsored by the church themselves, no less. This game is like a first-person roguelite mixed with an extraction shooter, which you explore different areas and take down as many enemies that you can, while being able to escape alive, of course. This game is insanely fun and filled with many weapons and spells that you can use to take down the witch's army. But before we can begin our witch slaying, we must first select our class. There are 6 different classes to choose from, each with their own starting stats and equipment. This decision will greatly affect the beginning of the game. So let's get over what each of these stats mean and each class that you can start with. There are 6 stats that you can upgrade throughout your playthrough of Witchfire. These are Vitality, which increases your character's HP, Healing, which increases the amount of healing you get from health potions, Endurance, this determines the amount of stamina and stamina regen your character has, Witchery, this will allow our spells to cool down faster, Metanoia, which increases the amount of Witchfire you get per kill, and finally, Luck, which helps with finding better items and lowering the frequency of calamities. Don't worry, we'll go over what calamities are later on. Now let's go over each of the classes. We have the Butcher. You like to dive right into battle and tank as many shots as possible as you destroy your enemies. The Butcher starts with a Midas auto rifle, which is a pretty decent mid-range weapon. While firing the Midas, you build up heat. Once the heat gauge fills all the way up, the gun will overheat, dealing less damage until you stop firing the weapon and let it cool down. Overall, this weapon is a good starting weapon. Later on, you get some upgrades that will help it dish out even more damage at different heat levels. You also get a bittersweet Nightshade fetish, which will release a powerful shockwave when you take damage at low HP. Next, we have the Hunter. This will be the equivalent of you choosing the rogue character to start with. You start with a lot less HP, but you make up for it for having the most stamina at the start. This class comes with a Ricochet auto rifle, another mid-range rifle that is similar to the one that the Butcher starts with. However, the Ricochet has a really good upgrade ability, allowing it to, well, ricochet bullets between enemies that you mark with the rifle, which can really help out being efficient with your ammo. They also start with the Painted Tooth Relic, which ignites enemies when you get a critical hit on them when they're at full HP. The next class is the Slayer. You start out with a decent amount of HP and stamina, and a lot better spell cooldown than the previous 2. It starts out with the Cricket Machine Pistol, a decent short-range weapon that will quickly dish out a ton of damage. He's also the first on the list that will start with a spell. The Lightning Bolt spell is a decent way to knock back and stun enemies in front of you. The Shadow is a typical sniper class, with starting stats that are not great for close-range encounters. It makes up for it for being the only one that starts with an all-seeing eye rifle, an amazing sniper rifle for dealing with enemies at a distance. He also starts with a Shockwave spell to push enemies away from you, just in case you find yourself in a situation where you're surrounded. The Penitent is the only class in the game that has a warning attached to it, as it starts with basic stats on everything but Metanoia, and also only starting with a Hunger hand cannon, a pretty decent revolver that can dish out a good amount of damage when landing headshots. Finally, we have the best class, in my opinion, to start with, the Saint. Just like the Penitent, it starts out with basic stats on everything, but the most important part here is, the Saint starts out with the most luck in the game, which is such a great stat to invest in. Luck builds all the way, baby. Oh, and it also starts with the most equipment in the game, with the Ricochet Assault Rifle, a Vulture Crossbow, which is a demonic weapon, which means this class is the only one that starts out with a demonic weapon. These are essentially super weapons that deal an insane amount of damage and rarely have any ammunition dropped from them. The Ice Sphere spell, which is, not the greatest spell out there, but it can really help out when there are a lot of people trying to stab you. And the Book of Serpents relic, which applies decay on everyone that lands a hit on you, a damage over time poison essentially. As I said, the class you choose will greatly determine your playstyle at the beginning of the game. However, do not worry too much about it. Each of these weapons, relics, spells, will all be available for you later on. After we choose our class, we are placed in the hub area of the game. Here, we have everything we need to prepare for our journey ahead. We have an alchemy table for creating health potions for ourselves, an altar in which we can level up our stats using Witchfire, a resource that will drop from each enemy that we kill, our research workbench, which allows us to research and create new equipment for our journey. To do this, we have to spend gold. We will go over how to collect gold later on. Finally, we have the equipment changing and upgrade stations. To upgrade a weapon or accessory, you must complete certain challenges while wielding them. For example, defeating a certain number of enemies with a weapon. Each upgrade will greatly power up your equipment, unlocking new abilities that are unique for each one. I honestly love this system so much. It helps encourage you to use each weapon to figure out what their special ability is. Now that we are prepared, let's venture forth to the portal to fight the witch. Unlike other roguelite games like The Binding of Isaac or Risk of Rain, rest in peace Risk of Rain 2 by the way, where you'll continue fighting until you reach the end of the game. You'll pick a stage, each on their own difficulty level, and fight your way through collecting as much loot as possible before leaving. The combat in this game is... it's fucking amazing. You've got so many things you can use to fight. We've got 3 weapons we can take in, a primary and a secondary, which could be any one of the normal weapons you unlock, and a demonic weapon, which like I said, are very powerful, but have very low ammunition you can find. You can also bring 1 fetish, 1 relic, and 1 ring, which all provide buffs to your character. And finally, we could bring 1 quick spell and a long spell. Quick spells are usually our damage dealing spells, dishing out a decent amount of damage in an AoE before needing to recharge. The long spells are mainly for crowd control, allowing you to keep your enemies at bay while dishing out a ton of damage with your weapon. My favorite so far being the bell that rings and stuns enemies around it. For whom does the Taco Bell toll? Allowing you to ring the bell again after a cooldown just by shooting it once with your weapon. And you'll need your equipment to deal with your enemies, as this game can get extremely difficult very fast as you unlock levels. As you start a level, it's highly recommended that you immediately look at your map. Here we can find all the information we need about what has randomly generated in the level, where monsters are going to spawn, and what difficulty the fight is going to be, if there's any ritual sites, or even special enemies wandering around the map. When you defeat a group of enemies, you'll be rewarded with Witchfire and a buff. These buffs are given at random, but you can manipulate what type of buff you get later on. While you slowly explore the map, there will be a group called The Hunt that will spawn from one of the exit gates on the map. These guys will slowly wander towards your direction, punishing you for sticking around an area for too long, or providing backup to a group of enemies. The game is extremely stingy when it comes to giving you healing potions. So if you are out of potions and are at low HP, it's highly advised you find the nearest exit portal on the map. These portals will take some time on opening up, depending on which one you go to. So you'll have to hunker down close to them and hope there isn't a hunt running towards your location. While exploring the map, you'll also find some cursed items on the floor. These can be picked up, but at a price. You'll either have to spend Witchfire to release them of their curse, or gamble whether or not the curse will affect you at all. If you pick it up and the curse affects you, your character will take some damage, which could also lead you to getting a calamity point. If anything during your run damages you, there is a chance that the witch will notice your weakness. This will happen each time you are hit, so having a high luck stat will help stop this from happening. If the witch notices your weakness too much, it will start a calamity. These are tough encounters that will spawn at a random location on the map. You are tasked at either stopping the calamity or getting out as soon as possible. Ignoring it will only cause your sanity to drain. When your sanity reaches 0, you will take a huge hit to your HP. So it's highly advised you either escape with what you have or face the calamity head on. So you gotta fight these hordes of enemies, fight off the hunt, avoid the calamity, collect as many items as possible, all while trying to extract with the loot that you got, and dang it! We died on that run. Well, you don't have to worry about it too much. Just like Dark Souls, you can go back where you died last and collect your loot. You'll get your Witchfire and all of your cursed items that you collected, as long as you don't die again while searching for your body. Wow, I guess this game is the Dark Souls of roguelite games, right? Witchfire is an amazing game, filled with high-stakes combat that will keep you at the edge of your seat, while also rewarding you with new loot and equipment along the way. I highly recommend you try this game out yourself, especially if you like roguelite games. This one is definitely one of the good ones. Man, I wish Gearbox didn't fuck up Risk of Rain 2. Anyways, thank you again for watching. Consider hitting that like and subscribe buttons. It really helps out a channel like mine. Let me know if there's a game you would like me to talk about in the comments below. I read all of my comments and would love to see what you guys would like to see next. Thank you again, and I'll see you all next time. See ya!